Hey everyone, welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about some more Luke Cage. It's season 1, episode 5. It's called Just to Get a Rep. Full spoilers for the episode as always. And so episode 5, this brings us back to present day for the whole story after the last episode's, mostly flashback. It also brought in Claire, who we've been kind of waiting for because we knew she was going to be in this.
Yeah. I will say, not introduced in the way I was expecting.
No, she just kind of walks onto the screen.
She almost feels out of place. It's probably my biggest complaint with this episode, that while it's nice to see her, a lot of it feels kind of disconnected.
I think it is. Obviously, the end of her segments ends with her seeing Luke on the TV, and she knows him obviously from Jessica Jones. And she even mentions him at one point to her mother. She's like, there's this guy that's blind, there's this guy who took a gunshot to the head, and she sees him on TV. So obviously, and also the image for the next episode is them sitting together. So, obviously they're crossing paths next, but they've introduced her on her own for this first episode.
Yeah.
What I will say though, is I did like that this one appears to be developing her more than the other ones in that she's had a story arc that's almost went through from the start of like her first appearance in Daredevil
Mm.
through Jessica Jones to Daredevil again to this, because she references what happened in Daredevil season 2, and then she's like, I've got an idea. I can't work in a hospital anymore. Maybe I should help these people.
I will say, when she's talking about the body that had an autopsy,
Hmm.
it felt kind of like forced exposition in case people hadn't watched that show. Felt a bit clunky to me.
Okay, I don't know if I agree, because I feel like maybe she over explains it a bit, but at the same time, she is telling her mother, and her mother would.
I know, it was just the way she kind of just comes out with it. It's like, oh, hang on, just in case anyone doesn't know, this is where she's at.
Maybe it was too quick. Maybe it had felt more natural had she built up to it with, broaching the fact that, oh, by the way, there's these bodies that come back to life. You
Yeah,
know.
but she kind of just throws it all out there at once, and it just felt a bit clunky to me.
But maybe you could argue that that's her like try to like show how chaotic everything is. That she just runs through all these, supernatural and
Yeah,
meta human things all at once.
yeah, that's fair.
I don't know. That didn't stick out to me too much. I did think it was weird how she just kind of walks on at the start of the episode, with no real introduction other than getting mugged and kicking the crap out of the mugger.
Yeah, it very much plays like it expects you to know who she is already,
Yeah, it
which
does.
is why I found that scene so weird and clunky when she was explaining it, because it was like one minute it's we should know, and the next it's like, well, if you don't.
I get it, but I still don't think it works because she's explaining it to her mother, and it also does
Yeah,
lead to her saying what she wants to do now. Which, if she just went straight to that, it would even though we known everything she went through, we still kind of have to have that set up in the conversation. Like,
we do, but like I said, I just feel like the way it came out was a bit
okay,
off for me.
all right. But that's just a small part of the episode. Most of the episode is, of course, about Luke and Cottonmouth, and it's funny because a couple of episodes ago I did say that they were kind of drawing lines in the sand, and while that was still true then, I feel like this even more so is them drawing like
It's the second time this has happened.
very publicly this time
Uh,
though. Big show and tell, and because obviously at the end of the last episode, Luke turned around to the news reporter and said, "My name is Luke Cage," and at the start of this one, he's like lifting up the rubble, which he could only do if he has super strength. It's very obvious he's got superhuman abilities here, and he's doing it in front of people. People are taking pictures, and it's the start of this new phase of Luke Cage, where the city, the town, the district knows who he is, knows what he can do, and Cottonmouth actually takes advantage of this. He decides to target all the local businesses and things like that, and steals from them and extorts money out of them, and says, "We're doing this because of Luke Cage."
Also, did you catch how much money he lost at that Fort Knox thing? Because we were like, oh, we weren't sure how much it
He
was.
said seven figures 7 times over,
Yeah,
which, if I'm correct in thinking, that means 49 million.
yeah, I think
Yeah,
so.
7 times 7. That's what you're saying there, right?
But yeah, that's a lot of money. That I didn't realize it was that much.
Oh, maybe no, it might just be 7 million. Because he said seven figures, which would be 1 million. Like, it could be higher than that, but it could be anything from 1 million up.
Right, but seven would definitely. if it was 7 by 7 and it was and seven, the first 7 is 1 million, so it's at least 7 million.
Why is the first seven? Well, no.
Well,
Seven figures could just mean 1 million.
yeah,
So he
and then
says
but
seven
7 times over.
could just mean times seven. So that's 7 million.
Yeah, that's what I just said. So at least 7 million. And you disagreed with me then.
No, because you said the first one would be 7 million. You made it sound like you were talking about the first.
No,
The
I
first
mean the first would be one. It would be
the
a
first
million.
iteration of seven. You made it sound like it was seven, which
Right.
is the
No,
mistake we made in the first place.
yeah.
And okay, this has been like, guys, this is the end of a long day of recording. This is the fifth thing we've recorded today. My head's not in it. We're arguing about math.
Still, 7 million's a lot considering we didn't realize it was anywhere near that much.
Oh yeah, it was huge, and he's essentially broke, and he's kind of scrambling, and we'll take this opportunity to talk about Shays. Now he has mentioned that he's from the Diamondback before a couple of times, but not really talked about it because it was just kind of a flippant mention. That's where he's from. But the way he talked about it in this episode, the way he talked about him, because the first time he mentioned it, like in episode 1, I thought it was an entity. I thought it was
sounded like an organization. Yeah.
Whereas this time, it was he. He's not the same Diamondback. And when he said that, I'm like, oh, this is someone we probably know already. And I'm thinking, probably Wilson Fisk?
I don't know. No, I think
you think so?
Diamondbacks. I think it's someone else entirely for Luke Cage. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I don't think it's someone we know that much.
If it's not someone we know, then I certainly do think they're building it up more for the Defenders than they are just Luke Cage.
Yeah, probably. I'm pretty sure Diamondback's a character in the comics anyway.
Oh, is it? Okay.
I think so. Yeah.
Alright, fair enough.
The name rings a bell.
That's my lack of obscure Marvel character knowledge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it's someone who knew Luke Cage back before he was Luke Cage. You know, before he went to
maybe.
prison.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe he's even involved in why he was framed. Yeah.
Wouldn't be surprised actually.
Because Shades, of course, recognises Luke when he sees him fighting because he's watched him fight before, and that's what triggers his memory. So that was a nice touch. But no, just to go back to the Diamondback thing for a second, I do think because of the structure of this, unless it is just something for later this season, in which case it is just Luke Cage, it feels like he's bigger than this organisation, so it's maybe something that the Defenders will deal with rather than just.
It could be, but I feel like it might be a Luke Cage thing because obviously we're getting like you say, we're drawing out the Luke Cottonmouth thing already. We're at what, a third through, more or less. This is kind of Act 2 now, right?
I wouldn't say we've drawn it out, but yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, no, I don't mean draw. I mean like this is where their rivalry is now. It's
okay.
It feels like it's quite advanced for how early in the season it is.
You feel like it's going to be like 2 half-season stories rather than.
Yeah, I feel like it'll be like Cottonmouth for a bit, and then it'll be like, oh, hang on, there's a bigger threat.
Okay. All right, that stands to some. Daredevil kind of did that thing last season where it was kind of like a 4-episode arc, and then the rest of the story. And it's a shame because I really liked the first 4 episodes, and then the rest.
Yeah, I can see
so
this
much.
being more the reverse, like this be like an 8 or a 9, and then like a 4 or 5 at the end.
Oh yeah, I could see that. Yeah. But yeah. So the main thing that's happening in this episode is that these thugs are going around and taking money from people. So they all come to Luke Cage like, we're to blame you for this, and Luke, like, well annoyed, is like, right, I'm on it, right, shut up, I'm doing
Looking suave as hell, I might add.
Yeah, he had his shit on for the funeral, for Pop's funeral, of course, and so yeah, he goes around, beats some guys up, threatens some people in the park, gets the ring back, does the whole shebang.
It's a lot of fun.
So it is a lot of fun. I feel like even he seems to be having a little bit, even though he doesn't smile. He's a very stern-faced individual.
He is, but he seems to be enjoying the openness of it all.
Yeah. He's not hiding anymore.
There's no hoodie. He's out in person. It's showing his face. He's got he's got a suit on. There's no hiding.
Yeah.
Standing up, as we've mentioned a few times.
Yeah. So also there was we keep talking about how there's Western influences in this, and there's a lot of it throughout this episode as well. But the one moment I want to point out specifically is when he goes to the guy who's got the ring in the park. There's a Western shot, like over the. It's not even over the shoulder. It's like by the side of their hips.
Yeah.
Shot. For each
it's the
person.
shot just before they reach for the guns.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, and I noticed that, and the score was doing some westerny things at the
What
time as
was?
well. It was so,
They're
just
really playing with it, and I'm having a lot of fun with that stuff.
yeah. So it all builds up to Pop's funeral. Before we quite get to that, though, we will briefly mention that Misty's partner Scarf, he's suspected by IA, and he's being careful because of it, because he avoids sending that text once he gets the guns back
Mm.
for Cottonmouth, and yeah, we'll see where that goes. Obviously, that I think obviously Misty sticks up for him, so she will be extra hurt when she finds out these true
Yeah. It
colours.
also felt like she's being a little bit naive, given that she's clearly shown to be this incredibly capable detective, that she won't listen to any evidence at all.
I guess, but she does say she's been working with him for years, so I kind of buy that. If you
But sure, that to me, that's more reason for her to have suspected something. Like, if she's this good a detective, years, and she has no inkling whatsoever, makes her look a little bit incompetent.
well, no, blinded by friendship.
Oh, okay.
That's an easy explanation for that. And who's to say he was always dirty? He might have only been doing this for the last year or something, and by
Mm.
then she's already built up the friendship, the rapport, you know.
Yeah, that's true.
So I don't know. It didn't overly stick out to me. But we get to the funeral, and Cottonmouth has an okay speech. Gets a little round of applause. Talks about keeping the city the way it is. Um, Interestingly, there was a lot of parallels between these two speeches. His was very conservative, albeit from the perspective of a gangster in Harlem, but
Yeah,
conservative for that situation. And then Luke was much more forward thinking, and it goes back to what Pop said to him. Forward always.
yeah,
He's for change. As much as Cottonmouth mentioned that Pop evolved, Luke is trying to enact evolution in everyone.
yeah. Because Cottonmouth talks about how he evolved, but he doesn't actually want the change. He's like, "Nah, we're good how we are. Let's get it."
Yeah.
He almost wants to go back a step.
Yeah, which again sounds like conservatives talking about
Yeah,
the country almost like
yeah.
nothing's wrong. Well, look at the long list of evidence that says otherwise. And
Definitely.
that's not even a particular dig at America. A lot of countries are like that. So, but obviously here America comes to mind more so because it's in America.
Yeah.
But so fantastic speech, really heartfelt, gets everyone cheering. However, Misty's not very happy with them because Misty recognises these speeches for what it is. Although I will say that I really liked both Hart and Luke's reactions during Cottonmouth's speech, when he started
Mm.
talking about what Pop would want and all that, and that kind of thing. And both of them they looked just the right amount of disgusted. It was good acting on both their parts, I thought.
Yeah. I really like also in the speeches the subtle throwing shade at each other.
Yeah, almost again like a political debate
Yeah, but
almost.
it was very like subtle, like I think Cottonmouth references like powered people essentially. I can't remember what the exact phrase it
Oh,
is.
he said there's a particular word they used.
There was.
Oh god, that's gonna bug me. I can't remember.
I can't either, but he was like clearly like direct to
Yeah.
Luke Cage being
And
around.
then Luke talks about bullies, even especially when they pretend you're your friends.
Yeah,
Do you know what? I was almost expecting him to actually name drop Cottonmouth and call him Cottonmouth to see what he'd do.
I was as well.
And it's going to happen, right? There's going to be a moment where Luke stands in front of him and says Cottonmouth,
Yeah,
and he can't do nothing.
yeah.
Although speaking of him not doing nothing, he might have a weapon soon that potentially might do something. A new technology from Hammer Industries. Hopefully, it does better than the ex-wife from Iron Man 2, because
Disappointing.
that was disappointing. Yeah. So, but it's a bullet that goes in, doesn't do much, and then it'll sort of explode inside and incinerate from within, and that might do something.
Made out of
Chitari metal.
Chitari metal, yeah.
Yeah. Because when he asked what metal, I was like, oh, he's going to mention vibranium maybe, or like metals we
This
know.
is not off this earth.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, but he even
yeah,
says the incident, so we know specifically
yeah,
it's Chitari. Uh, but yeah, so Misty's not happy because she recognises what that was. Like everyone else in the room's cheering, and she recognises that was just a declaration of war. This was
That's exactly what it was. Yeah.
because in a weird way, it looks almost. He's not a gangster, right? But he is a gangster in the sense that he's trying to take the streets back without police, and he's almost getting support like a gangster, but he's doing everything, the right way. He's not hurting anyone. He's not wanting anyone's money. He's trying to do all the right things, but in a weird way, because it is so public and he's getting people to know his name now, it feels kind of like that. Because he even Shades talks about that when he's talking to Cottonmouth. He says, but his name out there has reverence that your name used to have.
Yeah.
It's like, he's getting more cred now, even though he's not.
Also, shout out to Shades pulling out the cheesy again with the when Cottonmouth's like, how much are these bullets? And instead of just telling him, he writes down the figure. But it's like again, this is something in the first episode I think would have annoyed me. But now it's just like, nah, I can get away with it. He can play it like that.
Even the way he takes off his shades when he recognises look, he's like, oh,
I'm enjoying it though.
It's cracking me up.
Yeah.
No. So that's episode 5. Anything else you want to throw in before we?
No, I like the idea that that the guy at the start was talking about the politics and how hip hop started and how
that was
it could apply to this. And it'd be interesting to see if the end result kind of ended up him having to back down and this essentially taking place, like one of them having to tolerate the other to a degree rather than eliminate them completely.
That possibly might happen. I can see it. I can see it maybe not happen with Cottonmouth though. I can see Cottonmouth going down and someone else taking over the organisation, but they agree to there's a line and don't cross it. Like someone else who doesn't just shoot people in the head for suggesting such an action.
It's a similar thing to what kind of was happening while Pop was around, because obviously Cottonmouth, he never crossed the line. There was the line. Even he didn't want Pop dead. That was the limit. The barbershop, it was Switzerland.
Yeah.
And that was respected. But obviously it could go like one step further than that. But still the same idea.
Yeah. That all makes sense. And of course Misty does warn Luke of Harlem will suffer because you've started this. And it'll be interesting to see what that suffering is, how Luke reacts to it, how he bounces back from it, and so on.
Yeah, definitely interested to see where this goes now, because this was like a really good episode, I thought.
It was. Episode 2 is still my favourite, but this was good.
No, that's fair. This was very good.
So yeah, that's Luke Cage episode 5. Let us know what you thought of the episode in the comments below. There'll be more reviews of Luke Cage coming tomorrow. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Get us on Twitter at @mild_fuzz. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.